Thursday, 2 July 2026. 3 Asia-Pacific AI stories before your first coffee. ByteDance is committing roughly $39 billion through 2026 to build its largest data center outside China in Sierra, Brazil. A campus targeting close to 1 gigawatt of capacity, with first operations expected from 2027. The facility will serve TikTok users outside Brazil, the United States, Europe, and China, placing significant Chinese AI compute infrastructure beyond the direct jurisdiction of both Washington and Beijing. A $2 billion 20-year wind power agreement is already signed, locking in cheap renewable energy for the site at scale. Why it matters? ByteDance is proving that Chinese AI companies will route around US chip curbs and domestic political risk by planting compute in neutral, power-rich jurisdictions. For Asia-Pacific data center operators and sovereign cloud builders, this is a direct competitive signal. Cheap Latin American renewables and regulatory distance now rival Southeast Asian and Middle Eastern sites that were previously the default overflow for Chinese hyperscalers. Capital allocators backing AI infrastructure in Malaysia, Indonesia, or the Gulf should watch whether ByteDance's Brazil playbook pulls pipeline away from their markets. The second-order effect to track is whether other Chinese foundation model companies follow the same offshore neutral strategy, which would reshape global compute geography well beyond Asia's borders. So, Huawei is scaling its Ascend AI chip line toward 1.6 million dies by 2026, with roughly 600,000 units expected to be the higher-end Ascend 910C, as China accelerates construction of a domestic compute stack under sustained US export controls. ByteDance has reportedly committed around $5.6 billion to Ascend procurement, and Huawei's chip division is projected to hit roughly $12 billion in revenue this year, up about 60%. A state-backed investment push reportedly worth $295 billion is channeling capital into domestic semiconductors for AI data centers nationwide. Why it matters? China's AI builders now have a credible, if slower, alternative to NVIDIA silicon, and the volume targets signal that Huawei is shifting from proof of concept to production scale. Developers building on Ascend still face a 2 to 3 generation performance gap, since SMIC's roughly 7nm process cannot match TSMC's leading nodes. But Beijing's strategy is to close that gap with sheer unit volume and software ecosystem investment. Capital allocators watching inference cost curves should track whether Ascend's scale economics begin pulling Chinese cloud pricing away from global benchmarks. The second-order effect worth watching: as more Chinese AI workloads move onto domestic silicon, Western chip revenues from China compress further, reinforcing the decoupling cycle that both sides are now actively managing. Now, Singapore's AI Singapore program is now shipping the 3rd generation of C-Line, a family of large language models covering more than 11 Southeast Asian languages, while Indonesia's Sahabat AI and Malaysia's ILMA stack national models on top for Bahasa Indonesia and Malay respectively. ILMA currently leads on Malay language benchmarks, and early 2026 releases added safety tooling and new embedding layers that shift the entire family from research artifacts to deployable systems. The effort has formal regional backing. The Bangkok Declaration made supporting locally built models a stated policy goal across ASEAN member states. Why it matters? For builders shipping products in Thai, Vietnamese, Tagalog, or Bahasa, these models offer a local alternative to prompting GPT or Gemini in languages where those systems still underperform on nuance and code switching. Regulators gain a reference stack they can audit and shape without negotiating with a Silicon Valley vendor. Capital allocators should watch the embedding releases closely, because once retrieval quality in Southeast Asian languages matches English tier performance, the addressable market for enterprise search, compliance screening, and customer service automation across ASEAN's 700 million consumers opens material. The second-order effect worth tracking is whether ILMA's Malay language lead pulls Malaysian government procurement toward a national model default.